Hey guys, this is Mrs. Van Newland, and we are going to be going over lesson 2.2, which is on tax. So if you can go ahead and try the warm-up. After you try that, we will go through it. All right, so the first one says find 20% of 35. So we know two ways to solve this. So just as a reminder, one way is you can use a proportion, and your percent always is out of 100. Of 35, that's the whole. We're trying to find part of that. So I'm going to put that on the bottom and then put my x on the top. And then we should be able to cross multiply and divide to solve that. The second way you can do it is you can take the percent, which is 20%, I'll write it as a decimal, and multiply it by the whole, which was 35. That will give you your part, or x. So either way you solve that, you should get 7. So 20% of 35 is 7. All right, so the second one, again, you can go ahead and try this one, 60% of 25. So this should be over half of 25. If I was going to estimate what this would be, well, I'd be like, well, half of 25 is 12 and a half, so it's got to be higher than that. So hopefully your answer is higher than that. So if we set this up, I'm going to do my percent over 100. We're trying to find part of 25. That's my whole, and then I'm trying to find the part. So you can solve it that way, or you can do my percent, 0.60, change it to a decimal, times my whole. That will give me my part. Okay, so if you're using cross multiplying, remember you can do 25 times 60 and then divide by 100, or you can use the other method and do 60 hundredths times 25, and you end up with 15, which is where we thought it would be, right? A little over 12 and a half. All right, so today we are going to be learning about tax. So hopefully that's something that you already have a little experience with, but we are going to be able to find the tax charged on an item and find the total purchase with tax included. All right, so again, we are going to be learning about tax. So a tax is an amount of money added to the price of certain goods and services. Tax is typically calculated as a percent. Sales tax is a state or local tax that is added to the price of an item or service. Okay, so tax, hopefully you kind of know about this a little bit, but when you go to buy like a pair of shoes at the store and it says they cost $75, you're not really just paying that. You have to add, they charge you sales tax. Okay, so then you pay an extra percent of that price of your shoes. So that's what we're going to find today. It's an amount of money that you add on, and it's always a percent of what it was. Same thing if you go to a restaurant and you eat and your bill is something like $25, you're also going to have to pay some tax on that. So that is what we're going to be working on finding. So our proportion that we're going to use today is, if we're trying to find the tax percent, that's always out of 100. On the bottom, it's always going to be my original bill, and on the top is going to give me my tax, my amount of tax. I'm going to even add on the bottom, it's always like the original price of whatever you're purchasing or buying or your food amount. So we are going to try to find tax. So if we look at example 1, it says a t-shirt costs $10 and the sales tax is 7.5%. So you're going to have to pay that $10, plus you have to pay this 7.5% extra onto that. That's called the tax. So we're going to find the tax amount and the final cost of the t-shirt. Okay, so they kind of already set this one up for you, but I'll talk through it. So again, you're paying tax, and that's your percent, 7.5. That goes out of 100. My original cost of the t-shirt is 10. I'm trying to find the tax. Okay, now you can cross multiply and cross multiply and divide, or you can also use your equation. You can find 7.5% of my total bill, which was 10. Okay, now if you're going to use this way, I just want to show you something quick. You have to change this to a decimal. Right now it's a percent. So remember, you move it back twice. So it's 0.075 times 10. Okay, so you can either use the first method I wrote or the second method and go ahead and solve that. So I'm typing that in right now. Looks like I end up with 75 cents. So that is going to give me my tax. It shouldn't say total amount, that should say tax amount, if you guys can fix that. So that's how much sales tax I have to pay on my shirt. Okay, so I still have to pay the $10, plus I have to pay that 75 cents in tax. So my total, when I go to the register, that I would have to pay is $10.75 if you add those up. So you just found sales tax. All right, why don't you pause the video and try example 2. When you're ready, you can push play, and then you can see if you solved it correctly. All right, so Ashley, she's buying a laptop, and it costs $749. The sales tax rate in her state is 8.25%. Just so you guys know, depending on where you are, different counties, different states, all have different sales tax rates. Like if you're in Minnesota and you're shopping, there's no sales tax on clothes. But in Wisconsin, we have sales tax, and it differs by what county you're in. So the sales tax rate in this state is 8.25%. We want to know how much does she pay in tax, and then what's her total. All right, so I will set it up both ways for you. So again, we need to start with the percent. This is the percent she's paying. That's out of 100. And her original total cost is $749. And I need to find the sales tax that she's paying. So I can set it up that way. Or I can do my percent, which is 8.25% times my original price, $749. Now, if you do it that way, again, you have to change it to a decimal. So 1, 2, so 0.0825 times 749. All right, now that's going to give us our tax. So go ahead and do that, please. All right, when I solve this, you're going to get a kind of a weird answer. It's 61.7925. So when you're working with money, you wouldn't say $61.07,925. You can only have 2 decimal spots for money. So you need to look at the third spot. If it's 5 or higher, you round this up. Okay, this 79 up. If it's lower than 5, then you just keep it the same. So I'm just going to keep it as $61.79. Now that's my tax. So why don't you guys come over here and write tax, which is $61.79. I also want to find my total that I'm going to pay for the laptop. Okay, so for my total, she's going to be paying that $749 plus the tax of $61.79. So go ahead and add those. And I end up with $810.79. That's the total she'll pay for that laptop. All right, so in example 3, I'm going to show you another way that you can solve these problems after we solve it the first time. So it says Henry is purchasing $56 worth of clothing. Sales tax is 7.5%. I want to just know the total amount he owes. Okay, so again, you could set it up as 7.5 over 100, and then my total cost is 56. I want the tax. Okay, if you solve that, you'll get your tax. And then to get your total, you always have to add that up, right? So that's one way you could solve it. Now I'm going to show you another way that you could solve it that you can use if it makes sense. If it doesn't, then just do it how we've been doing it. Okay, so let's think if I was paying for my clothes. Okay, my $56. I have to pay that. That's 100% of the cost of my clothes. Plus, I got to pay that sales tax, which is an extra 7.5%. Okay, that's going to give me my total. Okay, so my total is really, I'm paying 107.5% of the total cost. I'm paying 100% of the shirt price. Okay, plus I have to pay that extra 7.5%. So my final total is 100% plus that extra 7.5%, which is 107.5%. So if I actually solve it using this, let's watch what happens. I'm going to use 107.5% over 100. My original was 56. This number is going to give me the new total cost. It's not just going to give me my sales tax. And here's the reason why. This percent over here is the total percent. It's the shirt plus the tax. So this over here is going to be the cost of the shirt plus the tax. So if we solve it this way, I'm just going to type it in for us real quick. 107.5 times 56, and then divide by 100. I end up with $60. And on your calculator, it might just say a 2. Well, I got to add that 0. $60.20. That's going to be my final cost. Now, if I had solved it this first way, So if you guys come back over here and you solved it this way, I'm just going to go through it quick. 56 times 7.5 and then divide by 100, I end up with 4.2, so $4.20. Now I'd still have to add that to my 56. So 56 plus 420 is $60.20. So I got the same answer either way I solved this. And it's your choice which way you use, whatever way makes the most sense to you. We are going to save example 4 to do together in class, so you can just kind of star that one and we will come back to that one tomorrow. All right, let's go to example 5. It says the tax on a piece of clothing is 5.5%. So that's the tax percent you're going to pay. It said Molly paid $2.50 in tax on an item. How much was the original cost before tax? All right, so this one's a little bit different. This time we're trying to find the original cost, and we know the tax. All right, so if I was setting up my proportion, I still know my tax percent is 5.5%. I'm going to put that over 100. My original cost, I don't know, so I should call that X. And then my tax, that's the part, is $2.50. I'm going to put that on top. Now, if you like solving it with the equation, again, we're going to do our tax percent, so 5.5% times the whole, which I don't know the original cost, equals the part, the sales tax, which is $2.50. Now, if you solve that, I need to move my decimal back twice. So 0.055 times X equals $2.50. And then lastly, you would just divide by 0.055 on both sides to get your solution. Okay, now if you don't like that way, again, use the first way I set up, the proportion way, and cross multiply 250 times 100, and then divide by 5.5. So regardless how we solve it, I'm just going to type it in. I end up with 45.454545, repeating. Again, for money, you can only have 2 spots. Look at the next number after the 45. It's a 4, so I'm not going to round it up. So I just keep it as my original cost was $45.45. And again, if you solve it over here, you would get the same exact thing, $45.45. All right, let's try example 6. It said Bill paid $563.50. That's including tax. So that number right there is his ice fishing shack plus the tax. So it's his ice thing plus the tax. It's both of those. If the tax was 7%, what was the original cost of his ice fishing shack before tax? It says round your answer to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal spots. All right, so let's think about what we can fill in. So first thing, it tells me I do not know the original cost. All right, so that's going to go on the bottom, and I don't know that. I'm going to call that X. Remember, that's kind of like your whole. What I do know is my total amount that's for the shack and the tax. I'm going to put that up here, $563.50. Okay, I'm going to think back to that example I did a couple back from here. So again, this is my ice shack plus my tax. So over here needs to be, my percent needs to be for my item plus my tax. So if I bought the whole item, that's 100%. That's for the ice shack. Plus I'm paying an extra 7%. So my percent I'm actually paying for the shack and the tax is 107%. So I'm going to put that on the top, and that's always out of 100. Okay, now you can, from there you can go ahead and cross multiply and divide. I like to set it up with the equation as well if you like that way. Okay, so I know my sales tax is 100, or my total percent I'm paying is 107% times my original, which I don't know, equals the $563.50. Again, 107% as a decimal, move it back twice. It's 1.07x equals $563.50. And then you would just need to divide by 1.07 to get your solution. So either way you solve this, again, you choose which way makes more sense to you. I'm typing it in. It looks like I get $526, and it says 0.6355. Okay, so let's make sure we can do our rounding on this. We need 2 decimal spots for money. I look at the next number. Ooh, it's a 5. That means I need to round this up 1 cent. It was 63. So I need to go up 1 cent, and it's $526.64. That would be his original cost for just the ice shack without the tax. And again, if you solved it the other way, you would still get the same thing, the 526.64. All right, so our learning goal for today was, can you find sales tax? Can you find the total cost? Can you go back and find the original? So can you basically just work with all things tax? So hopefully you feel pretty good on this, and we will continue working on this in class.